So, if there is one thing that I hate more than anything, it's double standards. When one group of people or one gender of people can do something, but another group or gender cannot. And I bring this up because, like I said earlier, my boyfriend picked me up about an hour and a half after I made that last video, and we went out to lunch with his mom at this Mexican place. Good food, good food. And we had this big discussion on words, essentially, and who can use them and who can't use them, and if they're derogatory or whatnot. And we discussed a couple different words. The biggest one we discussed, though, had to be the N-word. And everyone knows what N-word I'm talking about. I'm not going to say it. Just because I feel that it's just derogatory, and I don't feel it should be used. Anyway, the point is that her argument was that whites and, Mexicans and whoever can't use it because it's a derogatory term, but that it's okay that African Americans or blacks, whatever you decide to call yourself, because some people get pissed off at the word black, can call each other that, and it's fine, and can use it, and it's fine. And I asked her why she thinks that's okay. And she said because they own the word. I said, oh, they own the word. Okay, so you can own words. Okay. So can I just pick a word that I own? You know what? From now on, I own the word pumpernickel. And anyone who uses the word pumpernickel has to pay me $10. Or I can sue you. Makes no sense, right? I mean, okay. But she goes on to say, well, that word was used to keep them down and as a derogatory term for when they were slaves. I'm like, yeah? So that should make them want to use it, and that should make them want to call each other that? Okay, so it was used against them, so now they're the only ones who can use it. Makes no sense. Makes no sense. If that word was used against your race as a bad thing, shouldn't you want to abolish the word altogether and not call each other it? Like, and they use it as a friendly term. Like, yo, what up, ma? And I just wonder, like, what... I mean, I understand that connotations of words change over time, and I understand that the use of a word changes over time, but that word's still a bad thing. And I don't know, I don't see how one race can use it and all the others can't, just because it was used against them. You can't own a word. A word is either good or it's bad. It's not good or bad coming out of someone's mouth. It's bad or it's good, and that's the end of it. I keep blowing on my mic. Sorry, it's too close. And then she goes on to say, yeah, well, that's just how it went, because historically, that's a bad word, and it was used against them, so their race owns the word. So that's a double standard. So if that works out, and someone calls me a raghead, I can get offended, because I should own that word, right? I mean, I'm Arab. Yes, I am Arab. Thank you very much, for those of you who don't know. I am. So if someone calls me a raghead, or a camel jockey, or a dune coon, or something like that, I can get offended, and I can say, hey, yo, that's my word, you can't use it. Only I'm allowed to say that, because I'm Arab. You're not Arab. You can't say it. It's not cool. That's not right. Can't do it. Or my Jewish boyfriend can get mad if someone, he calls him, like a Jew, or like a pork something or other. I don't know. I can't even think of bad words for Jews right now. Or like, because he's Spanish, if someone called him a spick, he can get mad and be like, yo, only I can call myself a spick. It doesn't work that way. The same way it's okay for a girl to call another girl a bitch or a whore, or a wench, and it's all of a sudden a horrible thing when a guy says it. Like, I don't understand. If the word is a bad word, it should be a bad word no matter who says it, and no matter what context it's in. So you can't outlaw a word to a certain race or a certain gender. It just makes no sense. So either everyone can use it, or no one can use it, or we all just shut the fuck up and stop this political correctness shit and be done with it. I just think it's stupid. So we had this huge conversation at lunch. But so after she comes up with this owning the word theory, she then goes on to say that, well, whites held them down, and you're white, so you really shouldn't say it, Judy. I said, first of all, I'm Irish, and my Irish side of the family didn't come to this country until far after slavery. And the other half of me is Arab. Wasn't a slave owner. No. See, my family didn't do that shit. Neither sides of my family did that shit. In fact, my Irish side came over as indentured slaves. Yeah, my first like great whatever came over as an indentured slave, and then the rest of my family came over after slavery was abolished. And my other side of my family didn't come over until my Sittu. Sorry, Sittu is my great-great-grandmother, in Lebanese, which is what I am. And so her and her husband came over with their kids. So it wasn't even until like 4 generations ago that side of my family was here. So yeah. So it makes no sense in that regard as well. But the cream of everything, the cream of this entire conversation comes from the fact that she's a political science professor. You think as a political science professor, she'd understand that you can't own a word and that society creates these things and that society has problems? You'd think she'd see. And the whole time, me and Jake, my boyfriend, are just sitting there looking at her like, having this argument. She goes, I've seen this movie. You'll have to see it. And it has 2 arguments, and one of them's your argument. Your argument, yeah, makes sense, but the other argument. And I was like, okay, what's the other argument? She goes, I forgot right now, but I was like, what?